ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930 present The Drive. Brought to you by Huntington Federal Savings Bank. Local then, local now. Member FDIC.
It is Tuesday, October 20th. Your drive begins now on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930. I'm your host, Paul Swann. You can join the program by calling the Miller Lite phone line, 877-420-TALK. That is 877-420-8255. Miller Lite, hold true, great taste. Only 96 calories. It is the original light beer. We got a jam-packed show for you this afternoon. We've got some additions to the Conference USA schedule for basketball. That's going to be huge to get into. They're changing formats, so we're going to hear from Dan D'Antoni a little bit later on. Also, we're going to hear from Grant Wells. There's a reason for that. We got Eli Neil, the Conference USA Defensive Player of the Week. We've got him on the show today. And, of course, as time permits, I'll get your phone calls in. Also on social media, you can find me on Twitter at Paul Swann. So you can always shoot a tweet to me, and I'll check them all out while I'm on this show. So let us start with what's happening at Conference USA. Now, I was kind of hoping that I'd have a basketball schedule to go along with this, and Marshall might drop one on me while we're on the air. You never know. But Conference USA is making some adjustments to its regular season conference scheduling and the championship formats for men's and women's basketball, and this is, of course, all okayed by the board of directors. The league this season is going to move to a new 18-game regular season format for conference play that focuses, according to the league, on the health and safety of student athletes. In this format, the league in the release said schools will play 2 games per visit at 4 select CUSA schools and host 4 select teams for a 2-game series, while playing a rival opponent one time home and away. So if Marshall and Western Kentucky are each other's rival, the series will be home and away. So one game will be in Bowling Green and one game will be in Huntington. Okay, that makes sense. The other part here is the difficulty of you got to play a team at their home arena twice in back-to-back games. That's how I read this. And without actually seeing what the logistics look like, what the schedule is actually going to look like, it's going to be interesting to just speculate. So, for example, say Marshall is scheduled to be at Charlotte. Well, that means, according to this format, you got back-to-back games. Thursday, Saturday, probably I don't see that changing again. We're waiting for the release of individual school schedules, and I'm hoping that Marshall will have its schedule out. It would be nice if I could get that today. If not, we'll get it tomorrow, and we'll talk about that then. And, of course, check me on social media. As soon as I have it there, I'll share it with you. Interesting, though. It's going to be, I'm sure, difficult to get ready for opponent on 2 different nights because they've already seen you. Then you got to figure out, okay, well, what did we do wrong? If you lose the game, you got to figure out what you did wrong to win the next game. And if you won the game, then you got to figure out, okay, what can you do better? I don't know. Talking to some of the players today, I don't know if they exactly love this format, if they're going to be on board with it. We're going to hear from them throughout the week, but we've got so many interviews we're going to get to for the next few days. I want to hear from Eli Neil today and Grant Wells today from football because of what's going on with them. And, of course, Dan D'Antoni, getting a chance to talk to him earlier this afternoon. I think we should go with that. So we'll hear from Dan a little bit later on in the program. And, of course, the reason why I want to hear from Grant Wells today, because he's the Football Writers Association of America. He's on the watch list. So he's on the Football Writers Association of America Freshman All-American watch list. A few other names from Conference USA made the list as well. But we're just concerned with Grant Wells. So that's another honor coming his way. So we're going to hear from him. He didn't find out really about it until right before he got to the interview with us here in the media this afternoon. So we're going to find out what he thinks about that and his thoughts on the upcoming week. And then, of course, Eli Neil. I wanted to hear from him first today because he was named Conference USA Defensive Player of the Week. So before we get to any of the other guys throughout the week, and, of course, on Saturday as well for our pregame coverage, I wanted to hear Eli talk to everyone, and good stuff. So that's what we're at right now. We've got all of this coming up, and we've got baseball action for you tonight. Game 1, the World Series is here. I don't know how many of you are thrilled with this one. Tampa Bay Rays versus the Los Angeles Dodgers. So 8:09, first pitch. We'll have it for you. We go on the air at 7:30. So if you can't watch this one on TV, and let me be honest with you, baseball is a radio sport. You need to be listening to it anyway. Turn the TV audio down. That's the best way to go about this because baseball is a radio sport. It always has been. It always will be. It's just better on radio. And that is a hill that I will die on with you throughout the ages. Radio has just been a better medium for baseball. It just is. But I understand you want to watch it tonight. Tune in. Turn the radio up. Turn the TV audio down. We've got it for you. First pitch, 8:09 right here at ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. I want to hear Dan D'Antoni. I'm excited to hear Dan because that means we're getting closer to basketball, the Thundering Herd beginning preparations for the season. Of course, what I mean by that, formal practices, and we've got Dan D'Antoni. We've got his thoughts on a multitude of things. He looked good today. He looked good. He looked like he was ready to go. He looked pretty spry. I thought he looked younger than he did last season, and sometimes he looks pretty spry. I'm not saying he's an old guy, but he's a lot older than me, and he looks pretty good. So we're going to hear from him, and you'll probably hear that energy through his voice. I think he's ready to go, get this going. It's been several months since this team had an opportunity to play basketball or get ready for basketball as March really kicked it off as far as everything shutting down and just trying to get your bearings on everything involving what COVID-19 really meant, how it was transmitted, how you deal with it. So basketball starting at the very beginning of this as far as shutting down, and then now we're at a point where basketball can resume. It feels like they're going to be able to, or at least they've got a plan in place. We'll find out all of that together, but Dan D'Antoni, when we come back from the other side of the break, later on, Grant Wells, the Football Writers Association of America, All-American Watch List member, and even later on still, stay tuned for him, Eli Neil, your Conference USA Defensive Player of the Week, when we continue with today's edition of The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
Now, back to The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
Presented by Huntington Federal Savings Bank, you are listening to The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. I'm your host, Paul Swann. Thanks for tuning in. Still to come, we're going to hear from Eli Neil, your Conference USA Defensive Player of the Week. Also, the quarterback of your top 25 ranked Thundering Herd, Grant Wells, as he was named to the Football Writers Association of America All-American Watch List. So congratulations to him. More accolades coming his way, so they're still to come. But basketball is the story of the day for me because, well, we get Conference USA's new reformatted schedule. I'm hoping that a schedule drops sometime soon for Marshall basketball, a schedule that kind of gives us an idea, and I'm sure that you couldn't get the actual schedule out until Conference USA put this forth, and there might be a tweak or two coming. I'm not sure, but I do know this. We've got to have a basketball schedule soon. We're getting ready for basketball season, so we've got to have a schedule. So that should be coming hopefully sometime here in the not-too-distant future. But I'll tell you this, we had a chance to catch up with Dan D'Antoni. It was our first media gathering with him in a long time. Really haven't had a chance to sit down and just talk basketball with the coach since March. And, of course, you remember what happened in March, Conference USA tournament. You're feeling good about your team. You think your team is gelling just at the right time, can make a serious run, and then it's all pulled right out from underneath you. Dan D'Antoni, he's with us now. And first thing I wanted to ask him was, let me set this up. I wanted to kind of get his feel for the fact that with COVID-19 and the pandemic, basketball was the first sport immediately hit with it because the team got pulled off the court here. Basically, you're not playing, you're done. And you've had several months and several weeks to sort of see what the other sports are doing as they get back to play and they restart, and some of the problems that they've had. So I kind of wanted to get his opinion, his view over these several months, what he has learned, what's he know, what's different now from him. And that's where we'll start with Dan D'Antoni as he addressed the media earlier this afternoon.
Yeah, we started with basketball having to stop, and now we're back to a point where maybe basketball can start again. You've had the opportunity to sit back and watch everything progress. What have you learned, or what do you know since?
Not a lot. Are y'all still with me? Did it stop?
No, we're here.
Oh, okay. I don't know what you learn. It's crazy time. So what you learn, I have no idea. We were playing at probably our best when it stopped. And since then, we have the type of kids who want to get better. So I feel confident that we've gotten better.
So, Danny,
something ain't working right.
Say it again, Chuck. Say it again.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Okay.
Chuck, you messed this whole thing up.
Yeah, that was me. So do the players actually have to wear their masks while they're practicing?
Well, we try to. It's difficult when you were doing a high intensity drills, but we do the best we can as far as staying distance and then masking up as much as possible. So it's probably not perfect, but we've certainly tried our best to make sure they adhere to those policies.
It's a good thing you like to spread the court.
Yeah, we space anyway, right? If we're spacing, we're good.
Coach, are you prepared to potentially start the season without having any fans in the cam? Have you prepared yourself to not having fans at all playing a basketball game?
Well, I don't think our players mind. It'll bother me. I have to have an audience.
Why is that?
I'm just teasing. When you compete, you compete. And, if you come to our practices, they're high intensity practice. We have a few armchair coach, old guys sitting over there. But our kids compete, and they're great young men, and have been a blessing for me at this part of my coaching career. And so we're going to come out and compete. It's always more fun, with a bigger party, but our level of play will be there.
Hey, Coach, because of the stop and start, has it been hard to keep these guys all mentally focused and pretty present when you guys do get together?
Well, it sounds bad, but I don't worry or even think about things I can't control. And that's something I can't control. I do this. I have faith in them, and I believe in them. So I'm going to say they'll be ready.
I'm sure part of it though is, hey, you guys are back together. That in itself is almost as much fun as anything.
Well, that's you've been around. The two biggest slogans I have is it's who you get in the car with, and it's Snoopy. It's not about the destination; it's about the journey and who you ride with. And I've been very blessed here to have great coaching staff and people working in the basketball department, and some great young men that have been a blessing for me. It's been a joy to coach them.
Coach, you look at this year and now more than ever, it's important to have everybody contributing to your lineup. And obviously you've got Obina and David, coming in, but a lot of experience back to this team. Do you feel like this is a year in which experience is going to matter that much more for teams that are getting ready to play just because they've been there before and they can be in those situations?
Well, I'll use a quote without the maybe the hard word in it, but Bill Russell used to say, experience ain't S. So, experience is great and everything, but you got to go win basketball games. And then you have to play at a high level. So all I know is that this is the most knowledgeable of what we do team, in that they've been doing it for 3-4 years, all of them. And they should be well versed on what we're trying to accomplish. But I've learned over the years, when you start expecting something, you get yourself in trouble. So we're going to play each practice. I'm going to enjoy each practice that we go out. We start today. I'm looking forward to the practice, and I look forward to every game, and I hope we can get as many people in there to enjoy it with me.
Danny, what do you think on about Conference USA's scheduling move, where, like, say you'll go to Norfolk and play Old Dominion on a Thursday night, and then stay and play them again on a Saturday night?
Yeah, I don't think it's the optimal thing. I don't think any coach does, but it's fair. Everybody's doing the same thing. It may work out. I don't know. It might be the way you do it in the future. But to such a change, I think it would be very difficult to say one way or the other that it's a total disaster or that it was really good. So we'll play it out. Everybody's playing the same thing. We're all at the same goal. Where my goal is to win the NCAA title. Everybody starts at 0-0, and our conference play, which gets us into the NCAA tournament, everybody's playing the same type of schedule. So we just have to go out there and do our part, and that's win our games and make sure when we get to the tournament that we're ready for Conference USA tournament and that have a real chance of getting back to the NCAA.
Coach, who are you? And I know that you want to see everybody, but who have you seen through the workouts that you're really looking forward to seeing on the court in a practice setting getting this year started?
Well, our two freshmen are interesting. They from what the early workouts we've had several, enough really to where I can kind of tell a little bit about what they're going to do, but they're right in the mix. And I thought both of them have surprised me on the upside. So I'm looking forward to getting them in the mix, see where they fit with our team. Tavion, I think, has gone to another level. Never, ever doubt Jared. He's just got a heart of steel, and he'll be better. Jansen seems to be more focused, especially early this year. He seemed focused and wanting to make sure he has his best year while he's here. And, I've seen improvement in all of them. But again, until you throw it up that first game and in every game from that point on, it's all supposition. You'll find out in real time, not in the pre-time.
Dan, with the way COVID's gone and some of these games being canceled, do you sense a bigger resolve from your guys to kind of go out and send a message, even if it's mostly in conference, or is there this feeling of, hey, let's go do this just because some of this stuff's been taken away from them?
Well, I hope they would, because this is a exciting time in their life, and it's brief. It's not a long period, so I'm hoping that they understand. We'll certainly remind them of it a couple of times, but I don't. When you have the type of kids, young men that we have, really, they take on things the way you're supposed to do it. I don't have that problem. I don't have the problem. Do I have to motivate them? Do I have to get them up? They come ready every day. In fact, they motivate me, and they get me excited. And I've been doing this 50 years, and they get me excited every day. And it's not looking forward like coming this year, maybe not so much me looking forward to a basketball game. I've seen tons of basketball games, but I'm motivated because of the basketball games, who I'm playing them with. And this team gets me excited, and the young men get me excited to see them enjoy something I enjoyed a long, long time ago.
Coach, what's it like to see your players so far practice in masks? Do you feel, for you, are you still screaming through a mask? Is that something new you have to learn, or is that,
Well, first of all, I don't know about the screaming part, period. Yeah, I have to scream at Tavian all the time. Jump higher, Tavian. I don't coach that way. If I stay spaced, and I have my distance, I'll take my mask down to coach. If they get close or we get close quarters, I pull it up. But we have a veteran team, and we do a lot of teaching really from film, and these guys teaching me something. Every day they know the plays better than I do. They've been around, they know what's going on, and I don't. It is different. I don't like masks. So let's put it that way. I understand the need for them, obviously. I wouldn't have mine sitting here beside me, but I don't like masks. I don't like any disruptions. I like the way we were living life before, and we'll get back. we'll get back, and the team will progress through this. And I think you're going to see some great basketball and a lot of fun. They're exciting. They're fun to watch. They're going to give you their heart. Can't ask for anything more. And hopefully that'll end up at the end of the year getting him back in the NCAA and seeing how far along we go. And I want to go all the way to the top. I'm not going to. I learned a long time ago, don't dream small, dream big. And you know what? Even if you miss a little bit, pretty good year.
Coach, just looking at the way last year ended, do you sort of get that sense of unfinished business just because you all had it rolling and the way that it ended? Is there a sense of, hey, we were this close to a conference tournament championship if this hadn't wiped us out, and they carried that into the offseason?
Well, I think they know how good they are. They know they're good, and they know they're capable of winning our conference and going on. But, knowing you are is not going to – that doesn't get it. You got to go out there on the court and prove that you are. So, there's a lot of work to be done. Every team is 0-0, and every team has ambitions to get into the NCAA tournament. And they're good coaches in our conference and good players in our conference. So we just have to bring it every day, play as hard as we can, give Marshall fans all that we have, and then hopefully that with a little bit of luck and right shot at the right time, we're going to get back to what we want to do. We good?
That's Dan D'Antoni. We've got him out of his bunker. He's been squirreled away for several months. We've been keeping him safe. We've been keeping him COVID-free. We've been keeping him well-preserved as Marshall basketball is ready to get going once again. When we come back from break, we're going to hear from Grant Wells, your quarterback extraordinaire. That's right. 2020 FWAA, that's Football Writers Association of America, All-American Watch List for freshmen. We'll talk to Grant. He's on the list when we continue with today's edition of The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
Buckle up. Paul Swann has the wheel on The Drive, ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
We're presented by Huntington Federal Savings Bank. Welcome back to your Tuesday, October 20th edition, The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. I'm your host, Paul Swann, and I got to spend some time today with Grant Wells. It was virtual, of course. It's like every Monday and Tuesday, it's like the Brady Bunch. I log into Zoom. There I am. I see Doc Holliday, and if I could reposition the video, I would put him right in the center. He would be like Mr. Brady. Put him in the center, and we'd all be like, because you could do there are different views you can do. You can pin the video, that's no fun. You can do the speaker view, but no, I do the Brady Bunch view. We're just looking at everybody's head, and we're all watching this video together. And today, Grant Wells was part of our big Brady Bunch excursion. Of course, Grant Wells, not only your undefeated quarterback for the Thundering Herd this season, not only your quarterback of the ranked Thundering Herd, he's also now on the Football Writers Association of America Freshman All-American Watch List. And we talked to Grant earlier this afternoon, and one of the first things he talked about was how he felt when he found out. He just found out a few minutes before he joined us, and that's where we begin here with Mr. Wells.
I didn't really see it until I was walking over here a couple minutes ago. I was in the middle of a test, and I got a couple texts. But that is a pretty cool honor. But try to stay away from that as much as possible and focus on FAU right now.
When you say stay away from it as much as possible, are you still considering deleting your Twitter account? Is that still up?
We'll see about that. I don't know.
How crazy the last 2 months been for you, Grant? I mean, have you been able to slow down at all and put in perspective of the gamut of everything that's happened for you over the last couple months?
No, not really. Like you said, it has been a weird couple months, but in the sense that we started to play and all these accolades have come my way. But then, that's on top of COVID and, all the struggles we have to deal with that. So, those being piled on each other certainly has made it a wild couple months.
Grant, how much fun has it been, Grant? Just the way you guys have started and where you are right now?
Yeah, this is a fun team to be on. I hear everyone say it week in and week out that, each guy is playing for each other, which, makes it a pretty fun team to be on, knowing that each guy out there is playing for the guy next to him. And, we don't have the many selfish guys on the team. if any at all. That so everybody's working for the guy next to him, and that makes for a really fun team.
Looking ahead at FAU, this is sort of like getting ready for week one. Once again, they got a lot more on you. How do you prepare for this one?
Yeah, it's different. I don't know how many times we've been in week 5 or 6 and only have one game on the opponent. But we have to adapt to whatever. So we have a few games on this defensive coordinator that from years past that we've looked at just a little bit. But we try to take as much from their Charlotte game as possible because that is the one game they have this year.
How does that translate? Looking at other games or other teams, in your experience, does that translate well?
Yeah, we had to do it. We've had to do it a couple times this year, with App State and it's more common, like you said, the first couple games of the year. But we just have to get back in that mindset of this this is the first or second game of the year with what film we have to watch. So it's not as good obviously as watching the same year, but it's not bad.
Grant, I know that everybody is sort of, everybody's high on you all and loving you all up and double-digit wins and things like that. You looked the other night and there were some missed opportunities. How much do you all take those missed opportunities that you see on film to sort of keep you grounded throughout this whole process?
Yeah, that's one thing that we do as an offense. We don't really focus on the plays that we did right. The touchdowns. We don't focus on those as much as we do the missed opportunities, like you said, the missed blocks, the missed throws. Watching the game, a couple of days after, those are really what we focus on because you don't really learn much from completions or successful plays. You focus on and you try to learn from what you did wrong and how to make plays work that didn't.
You look at FAU, and the one thing that resonates with them is something very similar to your all's defense, their team speed. They've always got athletes. They've always got quick guys that they can break on a ball pretty quickly. How does that sort of change, the mode of practice this week? Do you try and go against, your all's defense any differently, or do you just try and keep things as normal as possible?
No, I wouldn't say we try to mix things up very often because, as you can see, it's worked so far what we've been doing. So, we're just going to stick to what we've been doing. Obviously the mentality changes when you play, a good defense like FAU. So, I think, the more mentality changes than practice.
For you getting a chance to play more, getting more reps, all of this, it's only going to be beneficial. So when you find out yesterday you guys had another game, is that another positive sign, especially look in November and now 3 home games there?
Yeah, that's huge. In 2020, you never know how many games you're going to have. So, so many times you've seen games X off the schedule. So it's good to get a game back on the schedule. It's still, probably not the exact schedule we were supposed to have, but a game's a game. So each time, it's an opportunity to get better and, show the country like what we're made of.
You look at Saturday's game down at La Tech, you're on the road, get a couple early injuries that take a couple of your starters out. And it didn't seem like you all missed a beat at the wide receiver spot. How have you built that chemistry with all those guys, the Gamages, the Shadid Ahmeds, Artie Henry? It really seemed seamless. And to be honest, it seemed like you couldn't really tell that guys were down.
Yeah, that's huge. Having the receiver room that deep. That you can literally just put any guy out there and they're gonna fit in just fine. Just and another huge thing is the confidence level on my aspect doesn't change at all. Whether it's Brock, whether it's Shadid, anybody, countless names in there. So the fact that you can throw anybody in there, whether somebody breaks a shoelace or has to go in for a play or something, that's huge when it doesn't really matter who's out there and your offense can succeed like it did on Saturday.
You had the 2 touchdown passes late. How, if at all, different was the defense late after 25 Brendan Knox carries? How does that change things as the game goes along? So many times you hear the running game opens up the pass game and the pass game opens up the running game. So, when Knox carries it, upwards of 30 times, the pass game is going to open up sometime. So,
that's one thing that this offense, has to it is the run game. So not many times the run game is going to get stopped, and when the run game opens up, later in the game or early in the game, the pass game is going to open up soon.
Looking at your receivers, in particular, Corey Gamage had a game in which, he broke out a little bit. He talked to us. He said he came into camp a little bit overweight, really, busted his tail to get it back down and tried to get extra reps in with any good. How have you seen Gam progress over the last few weeks and working with him, have you seen him grow over the last few?
Yeah, he's one guy that has grown, the most in that room over the past couple of weeks. I don't know how many people know this, but last week after, he dropped that ball at Western, he was out there after practice catching 50 balls a day. He was out there running because, like you said, he might have been a couple pounds overweight. But, he got that down in just a little bit of time. So, that speaks volumes of how much that kid works and the dedication he puts, towards his craft. And because he knows and everybody in the offense knows he could be and is one of the biggest weapons we have.
Yeah, you mentioned biggest weapon, and it's 6'4", 225 or whatever he is. You've got an Anquan Bolden-sized receiver out there. Is that, especially with some of CUA's defenders being, smaller, and you get that one-on-one matchup, is that one that you really like?
Yeah, there's not many corners that are going to be bigger than him. So with the ball in his hands, he's going to get a couple yards or break a few tackles after contact. So just getting the balls in his hands, not even downfield, just anytime, you're going to get yards after the catch.
Grant, I was over in Grayson on Friday covering Chad Pennington's team, and I was talking to him about you guys and your team, and he was highly complimentary of you, and he just noticed the team aspect of this 2020 herd and how much different it is. Is that something that you notice? And also, what's it like when a guy who's had a career he's had talk highly of you?
Well, it's 2020, and being a team is one of the biggest things, and with handling what we have to go through. So, Doc always talks about the leadership and the accountability that we have to have, especially this year more than anything. So, I think the added COVID really brought this team together and has made the leaders on this team step up and really allow everybody else to rally around them, which, as you see on the field, makes for a really good unit.
And as for him talking about you like that, obviously you got to take it with a grain of salt, but I mean, he knows a lot about football, obviously.
Yeah, he does. That guy could walk anywhere around here. So, hearing something like that from a Marshall great, is big because, he's been, in the same seats we have, and he's seen a lot of Marshall teams. So, getting that recognition from him, means a lot.
There you have it, Grant Wells, earlier this afternoon. When we come back, we're going to wrap the show up with Eli Neil, your Conference USA Defensive Player of the Week, when we continue on today's edition of The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930, presented by Huntington Federal Savings Bank. Welcome back to the Tuesday, October 20th edition. We've got limited time here, and I really want to get to this Eli Neil interview, your Conference USA Defensive Player of the Week. I don't think we can get to all of it, but we're going to try. And we start out with Eli, just talking a little bit about the game coming up, and, of course, being the Defensive Player of the Week.
What's it like getting ready for a team like FAU when you have more games than they have? There's more film on you than them. What's preparation like? It's almost like you're getting ready for the first opponent of the season again.
Yeah, exactly what you just said. They have a lot of film on us, and we have very little on them. Going into this, I guess we're definitely going to go up a lot of last year. In the one game that we do have, we've already started installing and going over some of the plays they've done. This week, like all weeks, it's just us focusing on ourselves, trying to perfect all of our imperfections that we had last week, and just getting better as a team.
Eli, talk to us specifically about the defense and how you guys have started. I asked Doc yesterday if you could foresee this in camp, but did you guys think you could be as good as you are already this year?
It's kind of a trick question because you don't want to say yes, you don't want to say no. I would say this was definitely the goal. Definitely the goal this year. One thing about our team is that we got a lot of guys that want to play. A whole lot of guys want to play. So I don't think any of us could have really saw this happening, but it wasn't like out of our mind. But we didn't think like, yeah, we're gonna be. But a lot of preparation went into it, and we definitely put in the work for it. It didn't just happen by accident.
You look at the linebackers specifically. Coming into the season, other than Devontae, we didn't know about yourself. We didn't know about Bo Plan. We didn't know about some of the guys that were coming out on the field. And so you all were thought of as a question mark. Was that sort of a chip on your all shoulder coming into camp whenever you all saw those things?
Oh, most definitely. It definitely wasn't a secret. We all knew that we were one of the biggest question marks coming back on the defense, And not to say that we felt disrespected, but it definitely put a little more fuel on the fire. It just helped us go through camp a little bit more tough, knowing that we were that question mark. We came our first game and just tried to, put all of those questions to rest, and we just continued to do so by our preparation every week this year.
How did that help you all gel together? I know that Devontae's a fiery guy. He's a competitive guy, and obviously he's gonna, he probably took that to heart. And it seems like you and Bo Plan and he have just a great chemistry out there on the field. How did you all build that?
Just everything that we do outside of football. Like we get together, and our coach honestly has helped us a lot. Coming in, Jordan Hankins, just helped us a lot. Just basically breaking down the linebacker position and just basically starting us all off on the same platform. We all know that Beckett had a great year last year, and what a terrific player he is. But he just was able to come in, have all of us on the same platform, and build us up from the ground up. We also all watch a lot of film together. Without coach, without everybody here, like we all show up, watch a lot of film together, and see what we can do and correct each other on our mistakes.
Eli, how do you handle the top 25 stuff? The coach says he wants you to avoid the noise, so you just kind of pack it in the back of your head somewhere and keep playing.
It's definitely a real big honor, and it's just something that's, like you see it and it's like, wow, but we know that we got to get back to work. We did have our little previous little glimpse in the top 25 for however long that was. So I wouldn't want to say we've been there, but definitely had an attitude that we've been there. We know that we have a lot more to lose than a lot of teams and that we on the chopping block.
Staying along those lines, how do you go about, I guess, either paying attention or not paying attention to, game cancellations or rescheduling? I know yesterday you guys added a game. How much of that do you notice or follow?
Like I said, we just all try to focus on we try to focus on what we can control. Those things and game cancellations and things we can't control. What we can control is just making sure we stand on top of, making sure we have our mask on, making sure everybody holds each other accountable on and off the field.
When you look at FAU, what stands out to you about their offense that you all are going to have to hone in on this week?
Fast, a lot of speed. They like to spread everybody out and be able to run the ball. And their tempo is something that I know because I played last year. I didn't play linebacker in that game last year. I did play a lot of special teams, but just being able to watch, I saw the speed and the tempo. After every play, they were lining up and snapping the ball with 33 seconds left on the play clock. So it was very quick. Just got to make sure that and our speed reps, especially starting today, speed reps and things like that, we got to take serious, be able to move, get the call communicated, and line up.
Along those lines, how do you think that Luke Day and it seems like your all's conditioning the third and fourth quarter is really exceeding that what your opponents have had? How much does Luke Day's preparation for you all go in not only the tempo but also being fresh late in the game?
Everything. Luke Days came in and just turn this back around. We were able to come in. He was able to come in and build off of what we had last year, and like especially being mentally tough. That's something that he's just embedded in us, embedded in our brains, and just let us know that it's not going to be easy. That's why we play this game. It's meant to be hard, but who's going to be harder and who's going to be able to punch the longest?
You all sort of like that. I know that, you talked about FAU speed. Do you all sort of like that, though? They like to run the ball. You all love to stop the run. You all pride yourself on speed. They pride themselves on speed. Does that add a little bit of grit to this game?
Oh, definitely adds a little bit of grit. Also, one other thing that adds a little bit of grit is that last year this is a team that we beat, but this is a team that won the conference. So It's definitely that chip on the shoulder too. We don't really just compare if they have speed or we have speed. We just gonna control what we can control. Come out and we're gonna play, and we know it's gonna be a slugfest.
We timed that out just right because it's time to go. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back tomorrow to do it all over again right here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Coming up tonight, for those of you listening on the radio, we've got Tampa Bay and the Dodgers. Game 1, the World Series, 8:09 first pitch. Listen to it right here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Thanks for tuning in. I do appreciate it. As I mentioned, I'll be back tomorrow. We'll do it all over again here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Good night, everyone.
WRBC Huntington, W227BS Huntington, your flagship home of the Marshall Thundering Herd and The Drive with Paul Swann, ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.